Welcome to the Book a Boyfriend podcast, where we dish on everything from the alpha male to the sensitive soul. If you found yourself lusting after a fictional character, you've come to the right place. Here's your hosts, Faith Andrews, Elizabeth Grace, Livia Jamerlan, and B.A. Wolf.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Book Boyfriend podcast. I am Livia Jamerlan, and this is episode 9. We are almost at double digits, everyone. Today, we will be talking about Frenched by Melanie Harlow, and later on in our episode, she will actually be on with us for a little Q&A and a little bit of a fire round where we kind of give her two options and she has to pick one or the other. But before we get into French, why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? Elizabeth, what have you been working on?
Hi, everybody. I'm Elle. I have been working on Built to Last, which is the contemporary small town romance that I'm giving away free through my newsletter. And then I'm working on a super secret project that I can tell you nothing about. So there's that. What about you, Faith?
I am knee deep, maybe more like waist deep in Noah's story. Finally. Man of My Dreams was my debut. I wrote that in 2013. I published it in 2013, and I finally got around to giving this sequel a shot, and I'm loving it. Although yesterday it took me like 10 hours to write one sex scene, so don't expect too many. But I'm working on right now. What about you, Barb?
I am like Elle. I am working on a super secret project, so I can't say anything about, but I've been planning its reveal, and I'm very excited for how it's going to go down, so stay tuned. Liv?
I am not working on anything. If you follow me on Facebook, you will know that I took a little hiatus. I have, my son is 7 months, and this is our first summer together, so I am going to take a much needed time to enjoy him as he's learning how to crawl, and soon he'll be walking, so I want to take a break. I do plan on writing Gus's novella from the Consensual series, and it's male on male, and I personally have never wrote male on male, so I kind of just want to take a step back, do some research. Maybe next year sometime I'll probably release that. But we're not here to really talk about us. We're here to talk about Frenched. And if you have not read this book, you're really missing out because it's really sexy. It's a fun read, and it's like a breeze to go through. And not to mention, hello, our friend Melanie Harlow, because we're going to call her our friend now. She just hit USA Today. So congrats, Mel. We are so proud and happy for you. We are drinking martinis tonight. Celebrate. Because if you don't know Melanie, that's her favorite. But let me get into the blurb. So I've never read this blurb before. I just one-click books here. So here it goes. When I got dumped by my stupid fiance a week before the wedding, my plans involved nothing more than ice cream, a blanket fort, and a bonfire of his possessions. But my friends convinced me that bitter taste better drowned in Bordeaux. So I came to Paris for a single moon, not a honeymoon. Then I met him. He showed me things I've never seen before. And I'm not talking about the Lavore. Is it just seduction of Paris, or could this be the real thing? So the setup of the book. You meet Mia, and she is in bed, and her fiancé has just dumped her a week before her wedding. She doesn't want to leave, like, the blurb says. So her friends convince her that she should go on her honeymoon to Paris. And she finally decides she's going to go. And on the first night of Paris, she's anti-love at the moment. She just realized that she's not going to spend the rest of her life with the guy she thought she was going to be. And she's just like, I hate love. But hello, Mia, you went to the city of love. So, of course, she's smacked all over the place with love. She goes to the Eiffel Tower. There's a proposal. She's walking down the alleys. People are making out. So she finds herself walking into this bar called the Beaver. And there she meets this guy who's the complete polar opposite of what she looks for in a guy, and he offers to show her around town, which is really nice, and that's how we meet Lucas. Now, he kind of becomes her tour guide, and a little relationship builds between them, and it escalates into a lot more, and that's where we're going to kind of pick up with our podcast. So let's get right into the questions. Girls, what was your first impression of Mia? Like she did, would you fly out to Paris on your own? Barb, what do you think?
So I'm going to give it to you Mia style, y'all. So 1, we're soul sisters because we are listers, okay? So there's my number 1. So I love Mia right off the bat. 2, I loved her spunk. I loved her inner monologue. I thought she was hilarious. She had all these quirky one-liners, and she just kept it real. And so I think that's what I loved about it. Yeah, she was in agony, and she got dumped. So she's whining about it. She's tragically cutting out initials out of her sheets, but she's just keeping it real. So she's extremely relatable in that sense. And as far as going to Paris, depends on the circumstance. But if I had just been dumped, then hell yeah, I'd go to Paris alone. I'm not saying that I'm going to have anxiety over it, but I'd go. So there's that. How about you, Faith?
I'm jumping right into the whole would I go to Paris. I just traveled to Detroit with Liv, and I wouldn't let go of her hand in the airport. So no, not flying to Europe by myself, no matter who I'm meeting there. So there's that. But what did I think of Mia? I loved her from the get-go. Like, how do you not love her? You feel bad for her. This poor girl is jilted by her fiance like a week before her wedding. So there's, sympathy right there off the bat. But her lists cracked me up. I think that's like one of the biggest, coolest things about this book. It shows that she has like these two sides. She has this OCD, but she's also quirky, in the sense that she can let her hair down and be a little silly. So I loved Mia. I loved everything about Mia. What about you, Elle?
Yeah, I really liked her. I felt for her, obviously, because of the situation she was in at the beginning of the book. And the list cracked me up. I got the sense early on that she maybe, I don't want to say the wrong reason, that maybe she was wrapped up in the wedding, versus like the marriage kind of thing. But no, I really liked her. Would I go to Paris on my own? No. Traveling on my own is not like something I aspire to do, especially to a country that speaks a different language, because je ne parle pas français. That's about, as much as I remember of 13 years of French at school. Fabulous. Do it again. What? Do what again?
Speak French.
That was awesome.
So pretty.
Wait, I can remember what else. Donc je serais en difficulté, which is like I'd be in trouble if I went, because I'd be like, I always get the sense Paris people aren't nice, and they'd just be like, speak French, So no, going to Paris by myself, I'm not ballsy enough to do that. Absolutely not. What about you, Liv?
So would I go with? Well, I loved Mia. Loved her. I loved that she was witty. I loved that she had this kind of like a snark to her. And it's even in her quote. I have it here when she was on the metro with Lucas, and he was, taking her around town. And he said, and she's talking to herself, "Stop it, Mia. And don't even look at his crotch right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't." I did it. I couldn't help myself. and that's what was her, how she was throughout the whole entire book. So I absolutely loved her. And to agree with Faith, she waited for me. She even told me the gate, that like the door, before even checking your bags in, that she was in. Like, she's like, make sure your husband drops you off on Terminal 2, door 4. And I'm like, Tim's like, well, here's door 3. I'm like, no. She wants door 4. So yes, but I would pick up in a heartbeat. If I had no loved ones, if I had no kids, I would go in a heartbeat. To me, it's like my dream is to like go backpacking through Europe by myself. Like, I would do it in a heartbeat. So yes, I would totally do it. Now, that's Mia. So let's talk about how they met before we get into Lucas. Faith, what did you think about how they met, meeting at the Beaver?
I loved it. I think it was such a great coincidence. And I think that one of the quotes that she says in her, her inner monologue, she says, "I hadn't come out here to meet a man. I'd come here to forget one." And the minute she lays eyes on him, she's not instantly attracted to him, because he's the polar opposite of what she's looking for and what her ex-fiance was. He's scruffy. She even says, I think the quote is something like, if he had a hairbrush and a shave or something, he might be attractive. But you can tell that right off the bat, they're going, these two are going to have something going on, obviously. And then when he offers to be her tour guide, it's like, wow, what a different spin on things. Instead of this bartender, he is the bartender there. Instead of this bartender trying to pick up this hot, lonely girl, he feels for her. He feels upset for her. And he's like, I'll show you around while you're here. So I thought it was genius. I love the coincidence. And I'm happy she walked into the Beaver. What about you, Elle?
Yes, I love that it was a Canadian bar in Paris. So, and I got a giggle at the Beaver. That's the name of the place. But no, I thought it was really cute. I liked him right away, and I really liked this quote when they first met, because he addresses her in English, and she says, "How did you know I spoke English?" One side of his mouth hooked up. I know an American when I see one. For some reason, the comment bugged me. What was so obviously American about me? I wasn't wearing a Nike t-shirt or white sneakers or a baseball cap. I parked my hands on my hips and blew a hair out of my face. I could be Canadian. Nah, he shook his head and set the glass down. What makes you so sure? A Canadian would have just answered the question. I thought of you when I read that. I'm like, that would have been Elle. Yes. And I laughed so hard because it's true. They would have answered the question and they would have apologized for something and said sorry. What about you, Barb? What did you think when they first met?
Oh my God, I loved it. And you know what's so funny is you always expect when a girl walks into a bar that you're going to get a hot, well, maybe you don't expect it, but I certainly do, a hot bartender. Well, Melanie delivered, because hello, hottie. But what I loved most was that she wasn't attracted to him, like Faith said. But then she gives this quote: "Things I like about the trip so far. Number 1, seeing the Eiffel Tower. Number 2, this glass of wine." Like, it's just, she's so not into this guy. And I actually really liked that, because it's hard sometimes with the whole love at first sight thing. And she wasn't into that. So I don't know. I really loved the way they met. I thought it was very clever. So, Liv?
Well, okay, so like Faith had said, I agree completely with how they met. I thought it was really genius that it was set in a bar, and for a really long time, or when she first got into the bar, I thought, oh, so this book is going to be set around the Beaver. I was waiting for the giggles. I really thought it was going to be set around the Beaver, because I figured like she would go out and like come back to him and complain about her day, or she would go and tell him whatever. And it was a really pleasant surprise when it wasn't, and it actually he became like her little tour guide in a sense. So I loved the way they met. But let's talk about the real reason we are even here, ladies. We are the Book Boyfriend podcast, so we must talk about the delicious book boyfriend. Now, what did you like about Lucas? Elle?
I liked that you could tell he had a sense of humor, and I really liked that he was just nice to her the first night. Like, he didn't try and pick her up. He just sort of talked to her and then offered to like help her enjoy her trip. And I just thought that was a really nice thing to do. And it wasn't with, there was no angle that he was working. So I really liked it. What about you, Barb?
Oh my goodness. I loved that he was really honest. Like, he kind of told Mia what was up. Like, he's like, I did feel sorry for you, but now I think that you're just a lost person. And so I loved that he calls her out right away. I love that he's different. And I have a quote, because why not? He shrugged. I'm a cemetery person. I think they're beautiful and relaxing, peaceful. I love that he's different. He loved the cemetery, which isn't something you see another guy in a book like. So I loved his little quirky things. What about you, Faith?
Right off the bat, my kind of guy. Like, Mia's not into scruffy. I'm totally into scruffy. Man bun is my new favorite thing. So I'm picturing Lucas wiping that glass with a man bun. And so looks-wise, my kind of guy. You find out he's a musician, hello. He speaks French, double hello. How do you say hello? What do you say? How do you say bonjour?
Bonjour.
Yeah, so, I mean, come on. He was total package from, like, the bar. But then you get to uncover him a little bit, and he's just such a normal, there's nothing to, like, uncover about him, that he's like he's really not a jerk. Like, some guys could be a jerk. He just seems so great, and loved his humor, and loved that he felt for her. And damn it, is he freaking sexy as hell. Like, some of these sex scenes are insane. And I love that he was so dominant in the fact that he knew, what to do, but it wasn't like one of those overly dominant guys. He was a normal dominant guy. So total package for me. What about you, Liv?
Well, I guess it sucks going last because the girls talk about everything, huh? So yes, I love that he liked the cemetery vibe. I completely agree. I love that he was the complete total package, Faith. I love the scruff. I'm really into the scruff now. I don't know why. Usually I'm a very clean shave kind of girl. I don't like to kiss. Like when my husband doesn't shave his beard, I'm like, gross. But now I'm like, ooh, I like the scruff. So I love the scruff. And yes, so I agree with it all. I thought he was very, very sweet. And I love that he picked her brain in a sense. And she's like, stop, analyzing me. So I like that. So since Faith mentioned about the sex scene, why not? Let's go there. Though I loved it, and I really wasn't sure how deep the sex was going to go in this book. And all of a sudden, Lucas has a kinky side, and I was like, yay! Kinky. So what was your favorite sex scene? Faith?
What? 2 words. Ice Cube. That freaking scene drove me wild. I don't know. I remember reading it and my mouth dropped open. I was like, he just did that. He just did that. And I just thought it was very clever, and I thought it was very intimate. And there's this kinky side to him, but then there's also this, like I said, dominant, but more in the sense that he's teaching her, because her life before him was so lackluster in the bedroom department. And I think she even talks about how her ex used to get up right after sex and clean himself off, and there was no cuddling and there was no passion. It was just this one-sided missionary thing. And I don't even, was it missionary or was it, I don't, whatever. Anyway, but it was just this one, sided thing. And I just love that he's willing to take this time with her, this stranger, and teach her about her sexuality. So the sex scenes were off the charts for me. As far as a contemporary romance goes, I wouldn't consider this an erotic romance, but hell yeah, these scenes were erotic. They were hands down. It was great sex, and it wasn't the same. And we'll talk to her later, and she says she can't believe how much sex was actually in her book. But none of them were the same to me. Nothing was repetitive. Each scene had some kind of different craziness to it. So I loved all the sex. What about you, Elle?
I think my favorite probably was the first time they were together, and it was actually came from a comment that he made, because she talked about in the book about how her ex-fiance, she never got to orgasm, and he'd finished and that was the end of it. And I think she basically had not orgasmed from sex in years almost or something. And so this kind of set the tone for me for everything when he said, he says to her, listen, I don't know what kind of assholes you've been with before, but I promise you, your orgasm will not only make an appearance tonight, it will be the star of the show. So I liked that. So that for me set the whole tone. And then in the first scene, they had the simultaneous and she's like, it's not a myth, it does exist. So that for me, I like that there's a little bit of humor in this scene, because it was very typical of Mia's character. So that's the one I enjoyed. What about you, Babs? Well, can I just say we're probably all going to go out and get ice cube trays that are the nice we're going to go make ice cubes. Husbands are like, what's this? Well, don't you? Anyway, so my favorite sex scene was actually when he's punishing her at the engagement party. She teased him all night that she wasn't wearing panties, and she really played it off, getting him so aroused, and he couldn't do anything about it. So he kind of punished her in a very sexual way that evening. And this quote was just hot. She says, oh God, I wasn't sure I could take wasn't sure I could take it. My body was spiraling out of control again. He yanked my hair. God's not here. Wow. That was because normally the guys are all, yeah, you can call me that. And it's just okay. He's like, no, I'm better than God. He's not here. I mean, there's that. What about you, Liv?
Barb, you and I are sharing a brain tonight. Yes, the it was just such a surprise. Like, I knew he kind of, like, there was a little bit of part of him when he hints about, like, his ex-girlfriend not liking certain things that he was doing. I was like, really? Like, what kind of things? I'm thinking, And then, you know, he brings her and he, like, ties her to, like, the bedpost and he, like, spanks her. And I'm just like, oh, you just made the top list of my book boyfriends just because you're just perfect? And then you have, like, a little kink thrown in there? Perfect. I loved that scene. And even, like, you know, Barb, like what you said, when she was like, oh, God, and he's like, nope, no God here. And I'm like, yes, yes. So, we talked about the sex, but now let's talk about what made us fall in love with him. What was your most swoon-worthy moment of the book? Barb?
So I loved Lucas from the first page. When we first meet him, he's not that in-your-face guy. He's just willing to take her around. Everything he did added up to him being so swoon-worthy at the end. But one moment that really stayed with me was when he was telling her about these love letters, this book. I believe it was in the cemetery. And one of their little trips, and this was another thing that I loved about him, he always told her to take her time, whether it was getting ready, whether it was shopping, just totally not a real guy, because no guy is going to be like this. But I loved it. I did love that little twist in there. But he takes off while she's shopping, and he comes back with a present for her. And he bought her that book, the love letters of Alba Lord and Eloise. And I was just like, oh, like, guy just buys her a book. So hands down right there. But then it's a book that she's been wanting to read. So I thought that was very swoon-worthy of Lucas. Elle, what about you?
That was actually mine.
Gosh, I'm sorry, guys.
I'm just kidding. No, but I thought it was such a sweet gesture. And just for the fact, not the money spent or anything like that, but just the fact that he took notice of when she had, you know, that she had really been into it when he was telling her that story and thought that she would enjoy it. So for me, that was like a real, like, you know, oh, heart flutter moment for me too. What about you, Faith?
You stole mine earlier when you used his quote about him telling her, you know, that her orgasm is going to be the star of the show. I again, like Babs, I fell in love with him right off the bat. Again, he's my type of guy, and this whole nice guy thing and the French thing and whatever. But I love that he wanted to take care of her and teach her and, you know, really let her explore her sexuality. And I love when he said that, you know, your orgasm's going to be here tonight. It's going to be the star of the freaking show. And he wasn't greedy in that sense at all. He, you know, he wanted to give it to her. So that's why I fell in love with Lucas. He's not a greedy man. What about you, Livia?
I fell in love with him in the rain. I don't know. It was something about her when she was making her list and she wanted to kiss in the rain, and that she's so caught up in the moment with him, and I'm so caught up in the moment with him. And here she is, this girl who plans everything. She has lists on top of lists, like even when she's packing to go, she has to unpack a certain way. Everything has to be extremely organized, and she forgets the umbrella, and she starts laughing, and he's like, what? And he's like, I never forget the umbrella. Like, I never leave the house. And he's made her feel that way, that she's kind of losing herself in a sense. Like, she's just forgetting about this being so neurotic and anal, that she's just enjoying actually being with him. And, you know, the kiss in the rain, it wasn't even like that deep, but it was just like, it was like the perfect kiss in the rain. And then, you know, he brings her back into his house, and then they have the big giant first time. So yes, that was my most swoon-worthy moment. And now, what about your I Wish I Wrote That? Now, if you're new to the Book Boyfriend podcast, shame on you. Welcome aboard. But we have this little segment. You know, we are all authors here, and at times we'll read a book and we're like, damn it, I really wish I wrote that, because it's just so, it's either really clever or it's really deep in thought, or it could be really whatever. So, Faith, why don't you tell us what is your I Wish I Wrote That?
Again, as a writer who is having trouble writing sex and finding words to describe things that we know only in so many ways, I found it very interesting at one point the way she describes a climax. It's towards the end of a book, and Mia and Lucas are at his mother's estate for the engagement party, and they wind up having sex in the grove. And this is when Mia's realizing that she's falling for Lucas, and you know, her inner monologue, her inner subconscious, if you want, will keep saying, "I'm falling in love with you. I love you. I love you," but she won't admit it. And they're climaxing. She looks up to the sky, and she says, I opened, in her head, I opened my eyes and looked at the sky. I saw stars that haven't even been born yet. And I was like, wow, like that's a really cool way to describe that. Like, you think of an orgasm as an explosion, as a combustion, whatever you want to say, but she's seeing stars that haven't even been born yet. Like, I don't know. I thought that was really clever and a beautiful way to describe that. What about you, Elle?
I picked a funny one-liner, actually, because, I like the funny. But I have to read the part just before it, just so you can put it into context. So this is her ex-fiance basically begging her to take him back. And he says, I'll do anything you want. You want to go counseling? Fine, I'll go. I'll be more adventurous with you in bed. I only treated you carefully because I knew you wanted to be my wife. I thought you'd like that. I put you on a pedestal where you belong. I see the way guys treat their women in porn, and I don't want to be that way. And then she says, I rolled my eyes. There's a big middle ground between pedestal and porn. I giggled so hard when I was laughing because I was like, oh, she's got like, the alliteration there of pedestal and porn. And anyways, I just thought that was really cute. So that was I wish I wrote that. What about you, Babs?
So normally I'm really deep and thoughtful with these. Like I'm really get into them, and I pick the poetic ones that sound like song lyrics. Not this time. This line, I will never forget it, and it is so freaking clever. I'm so jealous. I'm really glad I came in the beaver last night. I was just like, you know what? There's just too many meanings. But this is just like one of those "that's what she said" moments, and you're just you can't let it pass you by. Sorry, Libby Poo.
Not cool, B. Not cool. Not going last anymore. The next time I host these, I'm gonna go first, just because I say so. So yes, like Barb says, I found it funny that they named the bar the Beaver, and they kind of joke about it. So yes, my I wish I wrote that was, I'm really glad I came in the Beaver last night. Whatever. So
second time.
Whatever. Now we go on to our next segment, Kiss, Marry, Do, and
excuse me.
if you follow us, each time this is getting harder and harder and harder with each book we read. So, Barb, why don't you give us your Kiss, Marry, Do?
Well, this isn't going to be as fighty as last time. But it's still going to go down. So, give it to you straight. I'm going to kiss Archer because I still think he needs some love, and I want to fill those lips. I'm going to do Lucas because I need some ice cubes. I'm a hoo-ha. And then I am going to marry my already husband, Maxim. So there's that. What about you, Faith?
I agree these are getting harder and harder. And I kind of just throw them out there now because why not? We get the chance to mix it up. So, okay, this week I'm doing Maxim because I haven't been as turned on as I was reading that book in a long time. So I'm going to totally do Maxim. I'm going to kiss Mateo because he's mature and he really knows what he's doing probably. And I love myself a good kiss. Sometimes a good kiss is even better than the real deal. So I'm going to go with that. And I am marrying Lucas. One, because it was kind of a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to get him to marry me because of his reasonings. He's not all for the marriage thing. And two, because I don't mind spending my time between the US and France. I'm going to love that. I'm going to love, having two places to live.
You're really flexible.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with this week. What about you, Elle?
For me, I'm going to marry Maxim because he's my Rousseau, Babs, and I need that on the regular. I'm going to do Mateo because I would really like to experience his Spanish lovin'. And I'm going to kiss Archer just because I need Archer in there somewhere. He's just way too sweet. I can't let my Archer go. So I'm going to kiss Archer. Lydia?
Whatever. So I'm going to kiss Alec because I can't get rid of that boy. Just, you all know my love with Alec is just, it runs deep. It runs really deep.
Struggle is real.
So I'm going to kiss him because I still need to have some of him. I will do Lucas because, hello, I want to be in a freaking in a state in France. I'm like, can't even speak. I'm like all fluttered here because I'm about to fight some people. So I will do Lucas. And let me remind you, ladies, that Maxim likes them Latina.
La 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 la.
Okay?
¿Por qué no los dos? I'm Latina.
So, Maxim likes them Latina, like me. So therefore, I will be marrying Maxim, and you could be my bridesmaids and I'll make sure you girls dress in ugly green dresses. So that is, and since I get the final say in this one, I am marrying Maxim. Now, to the erection selection. Before we used to call this our casting, where we would kind of cast the book boyfriend, and Elizabeth Grace came up with the fabulous name, Erection Selection. And since I get to go first on this one, I picked Chase Crawford for my Lucas. The scruff that he had at one point when, I don't know what movie he was doing or if he was still doing like Gossip Girl, he had that like scruff with like the really messy hair. Mm-hmm. So I pictured him. What about you, Faith? Who is your Lucas?
I saw somewhere Melanie, maybe it was a teaser or something, had posted her Lucas as my Beck from Keep Her. He's a Brazilian model. His name is Marlon Teixeira, and he's freaking perfect. He's yummy, scrumptious, and scruffy. So he's my Lucas. What about you, Barb?
So I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so we're going to wing it, kind of like Mangello. His name's Jared Padalecki.
Nice.
So here
can you spell it for us, Babs?
Yes, Padlecki. Padalecki.
I love you.
I know he didn't wear a beanie, but come on, I mean that's pretty hot.
That's good.
Yep. Yeah. So okay, what about you, Elle? I'm pretty excited.
I had trouble with this, honestly. Because sometimes you think of like a specific person that's in the media, and sometimes you just like create your own person, right? With all these bits of other people. So that's kind of what I did for this book. So the person I had in my head would have been closest to Sam Palladino, who plays Gunnar Scott on Nashville. I don't know if you guys watch that. But so I took so I have a few pictures. I don't know if you can see him. So that's one.
Oh.
And then, okay, there's another. Yep. Because it's kind of like scruffy, like I don't care. It's, like what I look like kind of thing. And then there's another one.
I'm getting that international vibe.
Yeah. Pardon, Liv? Yeah, well, this is all of our pictures from Paris, obviously. Like waiting at the Louvre.
Yeah, how's Maxim gonna feel about that?
Well,
yeah, ¿por qué no los dos that one? I'm just saying.
Oh, but I could. I could.
All right, so that wraps it up for us. Stay tuned. In a few short seconds, the video will blur, and you will get to see us having a special Q&A with Melanie Harlow.
Hi everyone, if you are joining us, we are here with the lovely and very talented, and I must say, drop dead gorgeous, because I've met her in public. I've met her in real life, and she is absolutely stunning. I would like to introduce you all to Melanie Harlow. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, and thank you.
So, Melanie, we'll just get right down to business. We read Frenched, we loved it, and we can't get enough of Lucas and Mia, so we decided to ask you on here today and just pick your brain a little bit and also tease your fans with a couple questions that they might not know about you. But before we kick that off, why don't you tell us about yourself, where you're from, and maybe what you're working on?
Okay. Well, I am from Detroit, just north of Detroit, actually. And it was really fun. The other two books in the French series are set in Detroit, so it was really fun to write about where I live. I'm married. I have two daughters that are being really annoying tonight, so I got them away. And let's see, before I wrote the contemporary series, I wrote a historical series. Also set in Detroit in the 1920s. And now I'm going to hopefully soon work on another contemporary series set in a small town on the lake. And then I'm also working on something for traditional publishing that my agent will sub to traditional publishers because I would like to be a hybrid author. But none of those projects are completed. So really, seriously, just works in progress at this point. I got derailed by RT in Dallas. It was so much fun. My brain can't, like...
You need to regroup, recoup.
Exactly. I told my assistant that I can't do anything for a week. Like, don't ask me to do no Twitter parties, no takeovers. My brain has shut off. I need a week to recover.
That means it was a great time.
Yes. Oh, it was.
Now, why don't we just dive into questions? Ladies?
I actually, since you mentioned the historical genre, did you find it difficult to jump from genre? Like, it's got to be a little bit of a jump as far as writing it, and not only writing it, how did your readers react to that?
Well, the contemporary genre is so much bigger. Like, and I knew that historical, especially as an indie, was going to be a harder sell. But I really loved my subject matter, and I wanted to do it, and I got good reception, but small. Like, my reviews were all good, but it was nothing compared to publishing the contemporary series. The voice in both is different. Obviously, you can't have a woman speaking in 1923 the way she would speak in 2014. So, yeah, it took me, actually, I had worked on the historical for so long. The contemporary series I wrote much faster, but it took me a while not to hear that other voice in my head, the historical voice. But I think that's true with any series. Like, when I moved from French to Forked, I couldn't get Mia's voice out of my head. So they hang around in there, and they don't want to leave you alone, But the historical is, I don't know, I really love it, but it just doesn't get the traction that contemporary series do. I heard from a lot of the historical readers that they liked the contemporary, but I really love when people read the historical and reach out, because now that I know how rare it is to find those readers who are like, oh my God, give me more historical. And also, the historical that I wrote was not Regency, or there's no corset ripping.
Right.
So it's not it's not your typical historical, so it's different audience. And it's probably good that it was my first, foray into indie publishing, because if I had gone from contemporary to historical, I would have been like, whoa, what happened? So it's better that I started smaller and then built up a little bit.
Oh, sounds awesome. I have to read that one. I heard it was great. Speakeasy is next on the list.
Well, I think I told you this, Melanie. You met my PA in at the Detroit signing, Shauna, and she read your first book, Speakeasy, when you first put it out, and she messaged me, I read the best book. You have to read this book. It's so great. And I swear to God, years after, she still is anyone that asks for a book, she's like, Melanie Harlow, you have to read her stuff. She just loves your work. So
yeah, it was so much fun to meet her. I'm so jealous of your drinks right now. Really fun to meet her. And she said, I asked her how she had heard about the historical, and she said just randomly on Amazon she saw it.
Yeah.
And picked it up. So I love that. And I can't even say how much I love that she won that big giveaway.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
When because I didn't do the raffle copter, my assistant did it, and she texted me and she's like, you're okay with international, right? And I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, someone in Afghanistan won a giant box. Because I had said that I would go international. I don't know what possessed me, but I was like, yeah, I said it was. She said, good, because the winner's Canadian. I'm like, I love Canada. What's her name? And she told me, and I stop it. That is perfect. I was so thrilled. And the weird thing is, I shipped it yesterday, and they were all at UPS serious, well, it has to go through customs, and it has to do this. And she got it today.
Yeah, I know. She texted me.
Get out of here.
She got it.
Got it today. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, too funny.
That was
So,
fun.
how did you start writing, Melanie? Like, have you always been a writer your whole life, or is that something in adulthood that you picked up?
I always enjoyed it and kind of always planned on writing it. I was a reader as a kid, like always had a book in front of my face. I used to read at the dinner table. My parents let me bring a book to the table every night and never told me to put it away, which I think is so great. And I saw them reading. So I loved Beverly Cleary. I loved Judy Blume. I loved historicals when I was younger too. And then, so I didn't, major in creative writing or anything. In fact, I've never taken any creative writing courses now that I think about it. I was a teacher. I taught high school English and social studies.
Oh, wow.
And then after I had kids and stopped teaching, then finally I was like, you know what, I'm either going to talk about this for the rest of my life or I'm just going to try it. And so I wrote YA. I wrote 3 novels, which are not fit for anyone viewing probably. But one of them was a historical that later became Speakeasy.
Oh.
I switched. I had friends who were publishing independently, and I was really tired of the trying to get an agent game, and it's just a lot. It was hard. I would get a lot of requests, and then it would be for whatever reason, oh, I don't love this, or it's just not for me. And I had friends who were self-publishing and having such a blast, and so I thought, well, I might as well try this. And at the same time, I had gotten this inkling that I wanted to try romance with a little bit older characters. Oh, new adult was like, ooh, the big thing then. And I thought, you know what, my historical characters are old enough if I revamped it a little bit, and I did make them slightly older. Although I probably wouldn't characterize it as new adult now, just because new adult came to mean something else. So that's how I got into it. I just thought, what the hell, I'll revamp the historical for a slightly older audience, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and then I got to be the one to push that button that said publish, and it was out there, which is really scary. I'm like, Amazon is trusting me to write this book, and Barnes & Noble and later iBooks. It took me a while to gather up the courage to put myself everywhere, but I had a good experience, so I thought I'm gonna keep doing it. So I like to
roll with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta ask. You might be my soul sister. Please tell me that you love listing just as much as Mia does. Please, because if you are, then you are my soulmate. I will list everything. So Mia's list, I ate this up. This whole book. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I would have put that on my list too. So would have put that on there.
Yes, the list.
You gotta tell me.
That is one bit that was totally me. Yes.
Yay!
I have like lists for my lists, and I can't do them on the computer. I have to do them handwritten, and I'm
You always have to have more than 2. Like, you can't have an incomplete list.
Oh my gosh, I have so many going at one time, and I even, like, if I've already done something that should have gone on my list, I will put it on just so I can cross it off. The feeling that I get when I cross something off is so good.
Okay, well, we're going to have to reserve a big tackle hug. We'll list it out how it's going to go down, but we're going to have a big tackle hug when I meet you.
I love it.
Now, when you were writing French, did you actually travel to Paris? Like, because I feel like as I was reading it, I felt like I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I reading French, like, I feel like I could just be like, come on, honey, let's go to Paris. I know exactly where to go.
Yes, you can do the French tour. I have been there several times. I traveled there for the first time when I was 12, and then again when I was maybe 18. My dad was kind of a Francophile and just really loved it. He had studied there when he was in college. He spent a year there and had always wanted to go back. So my family moved there I'm trying to think when this was, about 15 years ago. And at the time, I was student teaching, so I couldn't go for the year, but I did go over quite a bit, and then and my brother ended up staying and going to college there, so I would visit him too. So I wasn't, native by any means, and believe me, I was terrified all the time. Like, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to put this out there, and someone's going to be like, you can't take a train in that direction from that station. Like, people were going to catch my errors, because it has been a while. My husband and I went back in 2006, and that was the last time I was there. So things are different now, I'm sure, but I tried to be like, okay, this thing's been there for 400 years. It's probably not that different than it was.
Probably still there.
Yeah. But I dug out a lot of my old books and journals and did a lot of research to make sure that I got things right.
Yeah, I felt like I was there. I was like, oh, I don't need to go to Paris. This is what it's like.
Like, I got this metro system down.
The metro system is really awesome. I do love it. Well, I love this is so weird. I can't even believe I'm saying this. I really like trains. So I don't know if it's like, because we don't have public transportation really in Detroit. The auto industry was so powerful here, and they really suppressed any efforts to have public transportation. No subway, no trains. Now we have what we call a people mover that kind of makes a loop, and I think they are gonna try to modernize a little bit and do have some public transportation. But so yeah, I think like the New York subway and the Paris subway is just so great. You don't need.
Have you been to New York? The subway here is not that great. It stinks. Like, especially like June, July. It's like
I'm horrified, horrified of the train.
You don't have to drive anywhere. I do. Well, in New York, unless it's like dead of winter, I do like to walk in New York. My best friend lives in the West Village, so I visit her, and I do like to walk when I'm there. But no, I think that the public transportation just in general is so great. You don't, like here, when you go out, well, now we have Uber, but that's expensive. But you have to, like, who's going to drive? That person can't drink. And if we had trains,
we could drink more.
Exactly.
We could drink in transit. I mean, we could just, we need trains.
On the subject of drinks, I don't know why we got this in our head. I think it's because you were drinking martinis when we were in Detroit.
No, it's on her bio.
No,
it's on her bio.
Oh,
that
okay.
she likes.
I can't believe I don't have one right now.
All right. Well, I'm kind of having one in honor.
What is it? Gin, vodka?
It's water.
I was gonna do that. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm just gonna pour some wine in that thing.
I made a chocolate martini.
Oh, she actually made a real one. So my question is, do you have a favorite flavor, or are you just like a real hard up dirty martini girl?
I'm pretty, straight, hard, dirty martini. Actually, I don't even like them that dirty. Gin is my favorite, but I'm very picky about my gin. So there's some local Detroit distilleries that I really like right now, so that's probably my favorite. But like in Dallas, they had, what did they have at the hotel? They had Hendrick's, which is really good. I like Hendrick's a lot. So that's probably my favorite. But I don't like anything fruity. Like, it can't have a color. It's got to be clear. I don't like the vermouth in it. The vermouth can like look at my martini, but it has no business going in there.
They can make eye contact, but that's it.
Did you actually, when you were writing French, did you pick the cover before you wrote the book, or did you get the cover made and then you decided, I'm going to write her lingerie into the book?
That's a good question. Originally, I had a different cover, and it was like a man and a woman's face, and I think she was biting his lip or something. And it kind of had like a funny, like rom-com-y vibe to it. But I showed it to a friend, another writer, and got some mixed reactions. But other friends really liked it. Anyway, I panicked and was like, okay, if this isn't, I just didn't feel right about it. And then I saw the picture of the girl in the lingerie, and I was like, that's the feeling that I want. It's feminine and romantic, and she's laughing and smiling. There's nothing like dark about my books, but they were sexy, so I wanted more of that. And I switched the cover, and I'm really happy that I did. And then, yes, based on the cover, I wrote the scene at the end where she's wearing that little ensemble.
I loved it because I felt like, not to like get into the whole thing of the book because we'll do that later, but I thought that was a very poignant moment for her, like, because her life before was so maybe plain, if you want to put it, and she had always, yes, very vanilla, and she wanted to be that person. So I love that is what portrays the book, because it's Mia's story, yes, it's Lucas's story too, but it's her growth. So I don't know. I think it's the perfect wrapping for the whole story. So
that was really fun. And there's so much sex in French. Like
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, no. Either. I didn't realize how much until I went to write the next book, and I was like, oh my God, the pace of that, I can't keep it up. Like, but I think you're right about.
No pun intended.
But I think you're right about it being her journey. Like, that was a big part of her journey. It was a big part of what was wrong with her before, or things that she ignored because she thought they wouldn't matter. But that physical chemistry with someone is important. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those were fun scenes to write.
They were fun scenes to read.
But that's why I don't let my mom read my books. So not allowed.
I'm pretty sure I read a few of the scenes twice. I'm like, I'm going to go back. I got time. As I'm blushing the whole time, mind you. Oh my God, I did what?
Sometimes when I see a quote, like, bloggers will be like, oh, quotes from French, and it's something like super dirty. I cannot believe that I typed those words. I just cannot believe that I wrote that. Like, oh my gosh, it just takes so much, I don't know, for me, like a lot of nerve to be like,
yes, that's how you do it. You close your eyes and just go.
My mom is not reading this. No one is reading this that I know. I'm just doing it. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Anybody have any more questions?
Let's do our fire round.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Yeah, rapid fire round. Okay, I almost forgot. Thanks. Okay, I'm having too much fun. Okay, so Melanie, I'm just gonna say two things, and you have to pick one. So like if I was like like chocolate or cheesecake. If you like chocolate better, you'd say chocolate. It's super easy.
Okay.
Super easy. Okay. There's no right or wrong answers.
Okay.
Okay. So cat or dog?
Rabbit.
Yes, she has a rabbit.
Kind of battery?
No, not the kind of the bedroom.
I know. I'm failing at this game already, but yeah, I'm allergic to cats and dogs, so we have a rabbit.
Okay. Martini or coffee?
Oh, that's so mean. Oh my God. We could be here all night. If I had
She's got a list of these things, guys. You caught her off guard.
all right. I'm just going to say martini.
Okay.
5 reasons she chose martini.
Yes. French kiss or forehead kiss?
Wow. Well, who am I saying?
Lucas. Hubby. Let's say hubby.
Yeah. All right. French kiss. I'll go.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Skinny jeans or sweatpants?
Oh. Sweatpants.
Is that what you guys call them? I think that's what you call them, right?
You call them joggers, right?
Yeah, I would say joggers for me, but I was like, I just really write sweatpants for you guys.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, stilettos or sneakers? Maybe you call them runners? Running shoes?
I call them tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes. Okay.
God, that's a hard choice too, because I really do like high heels. I'll go with heels.
Okay.
Heels.
And are you high maintenance or low maintenance?
It depends. I'm low maintenance in terms of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I'm high maintenance to myself because I'm very neurotic about things, and like with all my lists, and things have to be a certain way, or else my entire day is thrown off. So, but in terms of like relationships with other people, I think I'm low maintenance.
Okay. Plotter or pantser?
Oh, pantser.
Yeah, that surprises me. Because
I'm
you're
so
a list
happy to
girl.
hear that. Oh, that makes me happy.
I try so hard to plot because I am a girl who likes a plan, but I really can't do it. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay, cottage or downtown condo?
Cottage.
Okay. Movies, The Notebook or Pitch Perfect?
Oh God, that's hard. Pitch Perfect.
Okay. And is the glass half empty or half full?
Half full for sure. It's totally full.
Yeah.
When does it ever
What
end?
USA Today, it's totally full. Okay, that's it for my rapid fire. That was fun.
I think that wraps it up for us, Melanie. Thank you so much for coming on with us, and we all want to wish you a very, very big, giant congratulations on hitting USA Today. That is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And do you want to tell your fans anything?
Oh my gosh, thank you for reading my books. I love getting notes from readers either on Facebook or email. I love hearing from them. I love hearing what they liked about the books or how it made them feel, if it made them laugh. I love it. So thank you, and keep reaching out because it means a lot. And thank you guys for having me. This was really fun.
This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for coming.
So much fun.
I hope you enjoyed our interview with Melanie. Before we head out, I just want to remind everybody that we are not a blog. We do not review. We are just 4 authors that really, really, really enjoy reading. So if you do have the next book boyfriend that you think we should feature here, please let us know. Send us a PM either on Facebook, or you can email us at bookboyfriendpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us at www.bookboyfriendpodcast.com. We are on Twitter, and we are also on Facebook. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our iTunes channel as well. And until next time, say bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Adios. Adios. Au revoir.
Thanks for joining us. You can find out who will be on upcoming shows and what books we'll be discussing, as well as more about our hosts at www.bookboyfriendpodcast.com. See you next time when we add another boyfriend to the ranks.